Win a Pageant, episode 88. You're ready to win your pageant and you need a strategy to help. Well, you're in the right place. Every Wednesday, I post a new episode. Click subscribe if you don't want to miss any of your trainings. Let's win a pageant. Hey girl, welcome to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm your coach, Alicia Darby. Now, there are plenty of opportunities for you to answer questions during your pageant. Like, of course, your interview, your on-stage question, your introduction, pre-pageant media, and then, of course, post-pageant media after you win the title. It can get totally overwhelming to prepare if you don't have a specific plan. Now, most women want to be so perfect, so they craft answers. They write them all out, these elaborate answers to every question under the sun. They're like, okay. And believe me, the reason I know this is because not only do many of my clients do it, but I used to do this too. Okay, here's how it goes. You're like, okay, if they ask me why I chose to study science in school, then I'm going to say blah, 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 blah. And if they ask me what my favorite subject is, then I'm going to say blah, 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 blah. Okay. It seems like a really great idea because you want to sound like you've got a great answer for all of these different questions, especially this is like the massive one. If they give you the questions in advance, like many pageants do. In fact, I was working with a client in Pennsylvania who was given all 50 possible questions that could be asked during the on-stage question portion. And pageants do that because they do want the girls to be somewhat prepared and to feel confident. They don't want a woman coming out and being so nervous that it ruins their pageant. Okay, they want to give you the best opportunity. So oftentimes they will do this. So before our coaching call, my client actually started writing different answers. They were all truly wonderful answers. She was writing a new answer to every single question. And not only did it take her forever, she was trying to send it to me and saying hey, can you look this over and see if I can add anything new? And I was overwhelmed. I was like, oh my gosh, how is she going to memorize all of these, right? And so for fun, I'm asking her questions from there to see, did she really memorize these or what? Well, of course she didn't. She's scrolling to find her answer. It was awful. Okay. So do not do that. Writing your pageant answers is a huge mistake. Okay. Instead, today I'm going to teach you what I taught her, and it's going to help you overcome this crazy desire to be overly and obnoxiously prepared. Writing out answers to possible questions will inevitably confuse you. It's going to force you to stay within a box that you created for yourself. It's going to hinder your personality and ultimately drive you crazy. Okay? That's what we want to avoid. So instead, here's what we're going to do. Instead of writing your answers, you're going to plan your answers, but you're not going to write them. Okay? So if you get a big pile of possible questions like that client of mine did, the first thing I want you to do is lump them into categories, okay? It's likely that they're asking the same thing in a bunch of different ways. So, for example, they might ask something like, if you were to win, what would you want to accomplish with your platform? And they also might ask, if you had $5,000 to spend on your platform, what would you do with it? So those we can kind of lump into an area called platform. There might be other categories like education, passions, family, memories, things like that, okay? So I did this for my client, and the questions fit into 3 main categories. So you might consider this for yours as well. The 3 categories those fit into were, first, why did you choose your platform? And then that was asked in many different ways. What was the moment that actually made you want to help the people that your platform is helping? Okay, it's a similar question. The second category was, what have you already done with your platform? And it could be asked in a million ways, what was one of the greatest successes that you've had, or how much have you raised in terms of awareness, education, or funds? It could be things like that, right? And then the final one was, what are your platform goals? Okay, now, of course, there are so many different questions that could all be different within these, but one solid answer will fit any of these main groups. Okay, so do you see what I mean? That's why we're grouping it into a variety of categories. Now, when you plan your answers, it's like this. It's like spilling out a box of Legos onto the floor in front of you. Do you remember Legos? So if a judge asks you for a blue Lego, you just look down at the ground, you quickly grab a blue one and hand it off, right? But if the judge asks you for a blue Lego and you have not found any Legos and there are none in front of you, then you're going to have to go to your kid brother's toy chest, dig out his Lego box, open it up, and then spill it all over the floor and sort for a blue one. Or worse, you might have to actually drive to Target and buy Legos, okay? That's how you feel when you get asked a question and you haven't planned an answer for it, okay? Or you're asked a question that's requiring a blue Lego and all you've planned for is red and yellow, and now you're all thrown off because you don't have a blue and you can't think up anything brand new on your own, okay? Now, I know that this analogy is sort of silly, but I think that you get what I mean, okay? So what you need to do is plan a story to share for a variety of life categories. So we're not planning specific answers. We're not locking ourselves into a box by memorizing the answers. We're just planning concepts that can relate to bigger categories. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say that one of the coolest things I've done with my platform that I really, really want to tell the judges is that I raised $25,000 for my platform in 1 week with a Kickstarter campaign. Now, that would be pretty impressive, right? I did not do that, okay? But if I had, I would definitely be sharing it with my judges. So let's say that that's the answer. I truly believe that you do not need to know your judges' questions if you already know your answers, okay? So let's say that's an answer that we want to share. Now, here's how this would work. The idea is you want to be able to use that answer with a variety of different questions. So let's say that they ask you, hey, if you won this pageant, what would you do first for your platform? Now remember, our answer is about the 25,000 1 week Kickstarter campaign. I would say this. Well, I would launch another campaign. Last year, I launched a Kickstarter campaign that raised $25,000 for my platform. So I'd plan another launch for about 6 months from now and use every appearance and every social media opportunity I could to get people excited about that launch. So when it finally launches, it would absolutely quadruple the success. Okay, see what I did there? Now, let's say that they didn't ask you that. Let's say instead they asked you, okay, how would you spend $5,000 toward your platform if you were given it as a gift or something? Again, we're going to use the Kickstarter thing. Remember, that's the story I want to share. So here's what I'd say. Oh, well, I would hire a Kickstarter expert. Last year, I launched a Kickstarter campaign that raised $25,000 for my platform in about a week. I did it all for my own skill set, but with the help of an expert, it's likely to be able to raise 10 times that same result. Okay. Now, imagine they asked you, what's your biggest accomplishment? Oh, last year I launched a Kickstarter campaign, right? What legacy do you want to leave? I want to leave a legacy of success in fundraising through Kickstarter. Last year I launched a Kickstarter campaign. Okay, do you see what's happening here? So I'm using the same planned answer. I'm not memorizing it and I'm not writing it all out, but I'm using that same blue Lego to respond to similar questions. Most women want to say more and more and more and more. They want to give the blue Lego and the purple Lego and the green Lego and all this stuff in one answer. But the key here is to only have a few Legos on the floor in front of you and each one of them be absolutely excellent. So when you plan your answers, you want to prepare enough Legos to respond with excellence, but not be so overwhelmed that you're like swimming in Legos, okay? That's what's happening when you are planning a specific response to every single question under the sun. You're just going to get overwhelmed, okay? So downsize to just a few Legos. I promise you, this is a game changer. When you unlock this strategy, and it takes practice and it takes some, you want to bounce this off of your coach or bounce it off of some friends, the Legos, the stories that you're writing out. But I promise when you unlock this strategy, you will unlock not only a ton of space in your brain, but a streamlined message so that your message makes sense to the judges in a very short amount of time. And that, my dear, is how you win a pageant. Now, I am so honored that you would join me on the Win a Pageant podcast. If this podcast has been a blessing to you this year, then I would love for you to share it with someone. This time of year, it's a great opportunity to catch up on old podcast trainings. And if you share it with someone else, they may just enjoy listening to it during holiday travels or while they're on break from school or work. Now, you can text it or just send an email to someone straight from the podcast app, or you can send them to winapageant.com/podcast. That's how they can access it online. It would also be a beautiful gift to me. As you know, I put a lot of work into bringing you these podcasts for free every single week. And it would just mean the world to me if you would share it with some of your pageant sisters. I truly believe that God has blessed me, so I'm able to bless you. And I would love for you to use this blessing to bless someone else. Now, this holiday season, I'm going to be traveling with my husband and some of our friends to explore Southeast Asia. I've never been there before, so this should be really fun. So I'm going to be back on January 9th. That means that the next podcast episode will be on Win a Pageant Wednesday, January 11th. Have a very blessed holiday season and be sure to bless those around you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you in the new year. Hey there, I'm Alicia Darby, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching that last video. If you totally loved it and got something from it, would you just click subscribe right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel? Hey, I am here for you, and I've got so many more trainings and videos for you. In fact, this one would be a really great one to watch next. Or if that topic doesn't interest you, then try this one. It's my most recent video training. So I think both of these would be really great for you. Thank you again so much for subscribing. I am honored to be your coach. I'll see you again soon.